These are the kind of videos that just don't sit right with you. You watch it once, then you start noticing things, and it gets worse. Take a look at these mysterious videos. There's something deeper behind it. The caption reads, God being a little creative today.
Yo, what the frick? What the actual frick am I, bro, what? I'm out here DoorDash and I turn around and, bro, what the frick?
Look at the pattern. It's like a frequency. Is this being God creative or HAARP being creative? This is the kind of ancient technology in the race history that they really don't talk about.
Another text called Loka Panati. This text goes into heavy detail about robotics. They had robotic guards and different mechanical devices. Not only that, what about the Pushpaka Vimana? This is the flying vehicle. I know it's going to sound too crazy for you guys, but ancient India is like a world before the new world, okay? The Pushpaka Vimana, the flying vehicle, detailed in the Epic of Ramayana and Mahabharata, I forget how to say that text.
Those ancient texts, those may hold a secret.
It's powered by a Mercury vortex. They had Mercury, and using solar and thermal heat, they would collect that by and direct it via crystals. They would create something called a Mercury vortex used for the propulsion of the Pushpaka Vimana. You know who else was studying Mercury and the different ways to use Mercury? Nikola Tesla extensively studied Mercury. Like, it's insane. Another text called...
Shout out to Liam Richards for those ancient texts. That is indeed interesting, explaining how the Mercury can cause those ancient buildings to fly. After everything I see, it really doesn't sound that far-fetched at all. That will indeed be another deep dive. The ancient architecture tells us a story of the erased history.
Greenwood Cemetery, Brooklyn, 1868. Come on, what's going on up here? Come on, make it make sense. What is going on here?
How intriguing are these statues? Almost like they were petrified.
What is going on here?
Is that a Sphinx? Hold on.
This can't be serious, right? We never questioned this. What is going on here? Make it make sense. Look at this thing.
Who's inside there? Is this a cemetery?
Does this make sense? With the door and the Cobras? Colonel Abraham. But why more characters? Gotta have a griffin. No, it's an eagle. He was a soldier. Hey, fought Colonel Bighorn and Custard. Burnham. What does that symbol mean? Who is this?
Interesting.
Is that a real bird on top? You got him. You got her. Then you got these people. Let's get into it.
Interesting. When we take a look at these magnets, could this be an example of how the ancient structures may have produced electricity from erased technology? Because look at how the spark plugs look like the top of those structures, like cathodes. You see what I'm saying? What if these acted like spark plugs and this entire vicinity was generated? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think?
That's Adam and Eve and the snake. That's a blue snake and Adam and Eve right there. This is the Singing Tower in Florida.
How extraordinary. Florida, you got some ancient relics over there as well.
Bach Tower Gardens in Lake Wales, Florida was created by philanthropist Edward W. Bach, opening in February 1929, dedicated by President Calvin Coolidge.
Check out that door right there. Check out that door right there.
The Great Brass Door is the only entrance into the Singing Tower, and it's considered the masterpiece of Samuel Yellen.
Look how it reflects off the water.
This thing is gigantic, bro. Gigantic. There's so much going on in here, fam. There's so much going on. Oh, look, in the top, in the middle there, that's a pineal pine cone right in the middle. Right there.
Oh Lord, now we in Anunnaki territory.
Right there. Those 14-foot tall birds. This thing is wild. Behind me, you'll see the Singing Tower in Lake Wales, Florida. It's 205 feet tall and sits atop Mount Iron, which is one of the tallest points in the Florida Peninsula. Can you see that? Can you see that? Yo, look at that sundial. Look at that sundial. This is on the Singing Bach Tower. It's 205 feet tall in Lake Wales, Florida. Look at that sundial, fam. Look at that.
Shout out to my brother Lance from upstate.
That sundial and the Zodiac going all the way around it.
The Zodiac sundial contains layers of esoteric symbolism that bridge ancient mysticism and nature-based philosophy.
Look at that sundial, dude. And it's got the Zodiac all the way around it, all the way around it. This is in Lake Wales, Florida. Lake Wales, Florida.
The most striking esoteric element is the bronze snake that acts as the Gnomon, the shadow caster.
That is extraordinary creepy, and if you look carefully, look, you can see scorpions around it. What is that, Zodiac? Oh yeah, Sagittarius, I believe. Looks like it has Zodiac symbolism around it. And is that marble? Man.
The word gnomon in Greek is for one who knows, or one that examines. Esoterically, the snake's shadow knows the exact cosmic alignment of the Earth, acting as a bridge between terrestrial time and celestial order.
Mr. Bach, the curator, is actually buried right there. Right there. You see that stone? He's buried right there. And this whole door is about the book of Genesis. The book of Genesis. The Singing Tower.
Beautiful. Mark that down on the bucket list if you haven't already. If you're enjoying this type of content or you're new around here, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. darkwaters9.com sign up is now available. We got another banger that is extremely interesting. This theory claims the hidden truth about electricity. Maybe this could shed some light on the ancient technology we've been covering.
The ring being in effect a one-turn started secondary. A smaller ring will react even more violent. Here is another ring. This one made of a material we say is non-conducting.
What type of frequencies pulsating from this rod?
And it is completely unaffected. Here is another example. Several thousand watts of pop are involved in that spark. If we replace the spark gap with a copper coil, the same power now flows through the coil.
Tony Stark, is that you? Look, tell me these don't remind us of the spark plugs on top of the cathodes we were just talking about earlier. Do you see the resemblance? I can't make this up.
It's invisible, has no effect on many substances, but it can generate a lot of heat. Wood, paper, things that we think of as being quite inflammable are not affected at all. However, a piece of steel wool bursts into flame instantly. Did you ever fry an egg on a cold stove? It's no trick at all if you have the right equipment. This is a cold hot plate. And because it's cold, you can make it out of wood, if you like. Just be sure that there's a coil of wire inside and that you connect that.
That's not the first time I heard about stuff heating up that is cold. They used to have hydrogen stoves, believe it or not. I think it's a strong possibility that hydrogen's going to be in our future. That's something to look into.
Every conspiracy theory on the planet. Today, we will expose the truth on Dicyanin glass. Dicyanin glass is a special dye that is derived from coal tar. In 1911, a man by the name of Walter John Kilner developed a device called the Kilner screen. This screen consisted of collodion-coated, dye-treated glass plates with Dicyanin dye sandwiched in the middle. In his book, The Human Atmosphere, Kilner proved that by using these two glass panes as wearable eyeglasses, the user would be able to train the eyes to perceive electromagnetic radiation outside the normal spectrum of visible light.
Never leave home without them.
Kilner not only proved the existence of the human aura, but also proved that by using this special dye you can pierce the tapestry of the third dimension and gaze into the dimensions above. After Kilner published his findings, the United States swiftly stepped in. They confiscated everything and degraded the dye. Not only is Dicyanin extremely hard to get a hold of, it is almost completely blacklisted from the internet.
True story. I tried to actually get a pair. I don't know if they were real or not, probably not, but they were on eBay and someone said it was from World War II, and they were red, an extremely rare kind. And the soldiers used to go crazy because of wearing the red glasses. Made them crazy. I should have got them, but he wanted a lot of money for them. I wonder if it's possible if you can get some real Dicyanin glasses. I see a couple people out there, but are they real?
The roots go down 8-10 feet and spread out, so they're not affected by the snow and by the cold. Don't worry about it, that it's winter time. You don't need leaves on the tree for it to be effective. The tree is alive, it's just cold, but the leaves have to fall. It's part of nature. But you touching the tree is all that's required for you to get the energy, and you get billions of negative ions by you just touching it. You won't feel it unless you're energy sensitive, but billions of negative ions are going into your body, and your body will thank you for it, because we have way too many positive ions and not enough negative ions. By just touching a tree for a minute or two, for as long as you can, hug the tree if you like, but be sure to touch it with your bare hands, and you'll get an infusion of billions of negative ions that will be good for your body.
If you take a moment and think about it, a tree is under the sun all day long, so it's absorbing so much of that energy. And its roots go deep into the ground. Who knows truly how much it's really connected to the area. I used to push and pull the energy of the tree. I haven't done it in a while, but I did that probably, I would say a good 6 years ago. If you stand close to the tree and you sit there and try to feel the energy, you can feel it, and it's overwhelming, and it can actually knock you back if you actually tie it into it. That's another deep dive.
This leads us to the final and most profound sign. Here's the ultimate sign that you possess one of these rare minds. And Carl Jung considered this the most important psychological drive of advanced consciousness. You're not just interested in personal growth. You feel magnetically pulled toward what he called individuation. Jung defined individuation as the process by which a person becomes a psychological individual, that is, a separate, indivisible unity or whole. But for minds like yours, this isn't optional self-improvement. It's a psychological imperative as fundamental as breathing. This is what I call evolutionary consciousness, and it represents the psyche's natural drive toward wholeness, authenticity, and psychological integration. If you have this rare mind, you don't choose transformation. You're called to it by something deeper than conscious will. Jung discovered that individuating consciousness creates several unmistakable patterns. You understand that psychological death and rebirth are necessary for authentic development. But here's what makes this truly extraordinary. Jung found that individuating minds don't just transform themselves, They become agents of collective transformation. Your psychological evolution contributes to what he called the collective unconscious, the shared reservoir of human psychological development. This evolutionary drive explains why you feel compelled to understand yourself at the deepest levels. You're willing to face psychological material that others avoid. You recognize patterns and cycles in your own development. You trust the transformational process, even when it's painful. You feel responsible for becoming your most authentic self.
And I feel like that is extremely important, being honest with yourself and what you believe in.
Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Your rare mind doesn't just understand this intellectually. You feel it as a sacred responsibility to yourself and to the collective human psyche. The profound challenge is that this individuating drive can feel overwhelmingly lonely. You're becoming something that doesn't yet exist in ordinary consciousness, pioneering psychological territories that others can't even imagine. But Jung discovered something beautiful about this loneliness. Individuating consciousness eventually transcends the need for external validation. You begin to find
You don't care what others think. You're being authentic to yourself. If you thought you weren't going to get another excellent specimen of the day today, think again. Are you using? Alright. What we have here looks like to be some sort of malachite. Extremely extraordinary to say the least. Almost look like the bottom half could be like a clam. And the color, the light blue turquoise, man, definitely Dark Waters 9 appropriate. Oh, and look at the gumdrops on the closer. Man, I'm giving this a 9.5. I'll do 9.4. I'm giving this a 9.4. And the name I'm going to do this is Deep Sea Gumdrop Castle. That's the name I got for it. Deep Sea Gumdrop Castle 9.4. Tell me your guys' name for it and drop a rating down in the comments below. That's all we got for today's video. If you made it this far, be sure to drop the code word in the comments below. The code word for today is erased frequency. Go ahead and drop erased frequency in the comments below. When you do that, that shows me you're real and you really rock with your boy. Stay tuned. We're about to get a lot deeper around here.